Hello everyone, welcome to SAP Technomaniac. In this video, we will going to discuss about the deep insert using the create deep entity method, and we will see what is the SAP recommendation regarding deep insert and expand query option. Let's get started. Till now, what we did, we have created the sales order project. Inside this, we have created two entity types. One is the sales order header, another one is the sales order item. From the sales order header, we are getting the sum of the field from the VBAK header table, and sales order item, we are getting some of the fields from VBAP sales order line item table. And we establish the link between the sales order header and sales order line item using the association header to item. And we created the navigation property under the sales order header called items, which will help us to navigate from the header to item. Not only that, in the implementation part of the project, what we did, we mainly implemented three methods. One is the get entity set method of the header, another one is the get entity method of the header, and third one is the get entity set method of the items. So to get the individual entity. But in my last video, what we saw, if we use the expand options. So what is expand? Navigation, through the navigation, we traverse from header to line item, but we want to get the data, header and line item data together in one shot. Then we have to use expand query option. When we run this expand query option, there is a two thing. First thing, if we don't implement get expanded entity set and get expanded entity method, this particular execution run by the framework. In that way, what it will do, it will call our first, whenever we run this particular without any specific order number or with order number as well, it will call first get entity set method, and it will get all the entities, all the records. Then one by one, it will loop through the for all the records whatever we got in the get entity set method. It will loop through one by one record, and it will call the get entity method of that. In that way, what we were doing, in that way we are calling this get entity set method of the sales order line item. Both are the get entity set method only. First it will call sales order get entity in case of this one, but in case of this execution, when we call the sales order header, all the line item I want to expand, in that case it will call the sales order get entity set method, and then it will call the item get entity set method. If you are calling a specific header, then it will call particular get entity of the header method, and it will call the line item, all the line item for that particular header. In this case, this is no major issue. If you just want only one sales order at a time, there is no issue. If it is done by the framework also, because we are calling one time only this get entity set method of item. But in this case, if you want all the sales order line item together along with the sales order header data, what it is doing, it is calling 100 time, it is calling 100 record, all the 100 record from the header, it is getting one hand, then it is looping through one by one all the entity set record. So that is the reason we have implemented this particular get expanded entity set method. In that, what we are doing, we are getting header and line item data together, and we are that data we are filling in the final output and displaying to the user, or displaying or providing through OData service. So this is the we have done till now. Get expanded entity set and get expanded entity we have implemented. Before going further, I did small changes in the project. What I did, I created two structure /SC11 instead of using the VBAK and VBAP table. What I did, I created two structure. One is the VBAK underscore RAM, and second is the which we are actually using those fields. Instead of referring to the VBAK and VBAP table, we will refer to this particular structure VBAK underscore RAM and VBAP underscore RAM. What it will do, unnecessary we have to refer the entire VBAK and VBAP table. We created our own structure. Whatever the data we need to expose to OData, those fields I will gonna use. So what I will do now, since I have created this one, so what I can do, first thing I have to modify the sales order, this particular entity types. So I can go to the entity types and I have to refer now, instead of referring the VBAK and VBAP, I have to refer Z underscore VBAK underscore RAM and G underscore VBAK underscore VBAP underscore RAM. So instead of writing this, let me edit this one. So we were unnecessary entirely mapping that VBAK table. So what I can do, ZVBAK underscore RAM, the first is the, I think, header one. So VBAK, and second one should be ZVBAP VBAP underscore RAM. Like that, you can change the reference also. So what will be the difference when you change the reference, your DPC MPC model provider class got changed. So let me show you the model provider class. So if you open this MPC class here, so in the MPC class currently it is, when you see that define method of MPC class, if you see in the define method, we have defined two entity. One is the sales order header entity type, so one is the sales order line item. But if you see the sales order header, this is assigned association. I don't want to see association, I want to see first sales order header. So you can see the sales order header particular entity type is bind to the this particular VBAK, and sales order line item is bind to the VBAP. If I regenerate my methods again what you have to make sure what all are the fields you are using. All the fields should be available in both these two structure, in the both the entity types. So in my case it is true because I have created only those fields which I am using here. So in this case, what I can do now, I will regenerate my service, regenerate my runtime artifacts. What it will do, it will replace all the VBAK and VB. If I refresh here F5, instead of binding to this structure, it will bind now G underscore. If I refresh, if I see again, you can see ZVBA underscore RAM instead of VBAP, and same goes with VBAK, ZVBAK underscore RAM. Instead of referring to the VBAK and VBAP table, now it is referring VBAK underscore RAM and VBAP underscore RAM. So why I did, I have created the code for the get expanded entity set and get entity set. I created the separate structure here. So why I have created, if I don't create or I will use the MPC class directly, MPC class structure directly from here, TC underscore this now, previously it was directly referring to VBAK, but I don't want to get VBAK entire data. I just want to get the data whatever we are available in the properties, those only. So for that purpose, always whenever you do, just create the structure and use those structure. Initially I didn't thought of we will face this kind of issue, but you can create your own structure. Why we are creating what is the advantage of creating the structure? It will easily map and easily convert to EDM data type to the ABAP data type and ABAP data type to the EDM data type. And one more thing, if we refer to a structure, we easily create the entity type instead of adding one by one property. It is very tedious work. And like that we can do. Now what I can do, this is not required. I can control shift less than and get and instead of referring this LT underscore VBAK table, what I will refer from the MPC class, I will refer directly. I will refer control space. You will do. I will refer directly for the header. I will refer TS underscore header, and same goes with the line item also. I will refer directly line item. If you do like this, control space and line item, I will refer this one. Same goes with all the data declaration. You can change here. Control C, control V. This is item. Again, this is item, and this is not needed now. And this is also, you can put, instead of writing this, you can put include this particular structure here. So it will automatically include, or this is also correct, not an issue. This was about whatever we have done the changes in the sales order project. Now what we will do, we will create the sales order in the system through the OData service. When we discussed about the employee creation set, employee data, that was the first project we have created, Z employee underscore RAM. There was we were having only one entity. We were able to read that entity. We were able to create that entity and that system. We were able to delete and update also. But in this case, little bit different. In this case, I don't want to create the single entity, or I don't want to update the single entity, because in the real-time SAP world, we never create the SAP header data separately and line item data separately. Whenever we go to the VA01, we will put our header data and we will put our line item data, all the data together, and we are okay. Then we will click on save button. All the data together will be saved. So in this case, whenever we have to send the data from the front end to back end, we should not send the data header data only to create, because if you only send the header data to create and line item data to create, it's not possible to create the sales order. So in that way, so SAP given the one thing where we can send the header data and line item data together in the back end, so they can be utilized to create one sales order, and we get the response back, the successfully we have created the sales order. Like that we can do. But to do that, we have one additional method, create deep entity. That method we have to implement. We have to follow some of the steps. Before going that, when we did the single entity creation, what we have used, if you remember from my last video, when we created the employee set entity type in the employee project, we will use post method. We used post method, and that along with that we send the data, and we have sent the data to create that particular entity set, and we use the create entity method to implement. In this case, if I implement the create entity method, I can only send the data for single entity. But entity type, I want to send the data for multiple entity set here. To do that, the create entity method will not work here. To overcome this, SAP provided something called create deep entity. As I told you in my last video, what all are the methods you want to see of the superclass? Either you can go in SE24, that was visible, everything all the together like this. Let me open SE24, and you can go to the DPC extension class of your project, in this case 002 DPC extension class, and you can display it out. You can see all the superclass method. Out of them, some of them we have re-implemented like that. Which method we have re-implemented? Get expanded entity set and get expanded entity. And same way, we have one method called deep entity, create a deep entity. This method, this will help us to send the data of the header and multiple entities data. Not only in this case, we might have the 2, 3 entity or 4 entity, that entity data we have to send backend together, and that will be saved together. So that can be done using this create deep entity. How to find out in the Eclipse? The same way, you can see, you have to click on Control T. It will display the hierarchy of all the classes and interfaces used in this particular extension, DPC extension class, which is the superclass. This DPC is the superclass, and this have another superclass, and this have another superclass. Inside this superclass, this is the interface we are using. This interface, this is again the O concepts. This is the interface which we are talking about, MGWAPL SRV runtime, this one. So I think this is the interface, SRV runtime, this one. First is the interface. Inside this the interface, there are a lot of methods are there. We have to re-implement. So what all are the methods implemented in this particular class? You can click on Control O button. You can see all the data. What all are the in one hand, instead of going here and there, up and down, and you can see. So some of the public methods are there which we have re-implemented already. Get entity set method, get expanded entity, and get expanded entity set method. But in this case, I want to re-implement this create deep entity method. So create deep entity method. So what we have to do, currently there is an exception. If I run this particular create deep entity method, so how to send the data in the backends, first we will see, and the service. So you have to go to your project. This is the second project. We will open from the service in the maintenance side. You have to click on maintain. It will take you to your gateway hub system, or if you are doing, in this case I'm doing in the same system, so I can click on gateway client. I will get the data first from the uh, backend system. One sales order data I will little bit modify, and I will try to create my own data. So what I can do, so this is the sorry so what I can do, this is the URI I have to use from here SAP to get the expand entity. First we have to get the expanded entity, then only we can send the expanded entity. So from here we have to use items, control C, particular sales order data, control V. From the service to we already implemented. I hope so I should get exactly the data. So you see we got the response 200, and we will get this data in the dollar format equal to JSON. Format equal to JSON, and let me re-execute. We did little bit modification, that is the reason again I am showing. So you don't know what is the expand options, expand query option, you can watch out my previous videos. I explained very well. You can see I got the 4970 data. I don't want these many line items, so that is the reason I will use sales order created by me only. There are some of the sales order I have created in the system using BAP, so I can show you easily, guys. So let me open VBAK and let me created by Technomaniac. Let me give this user ID created by Technomaniac. To practice purpose I have created. So we will create the sales order now in the system using the OData service. Okay, using the BAPI, not simple way. So let me get this 15927 sales order instead of getting that sales order. Let me go to my service. 15927. There is only one line item, so we can easily see the data. Let me execute. So I got the data. There is some header data and the document, and there is one line item data. To post the method, so in simply if we are posting single entity, then we have to get only the single entity like we did in employee set. But in this case we have to send data together, sales order and line item data together. So what we have to do, we have to expand the data and get, and that data we have to send back to the system, so they can create the header and line item. They can use header line item data together and create the sales order in the backend system. So same way we have to do, use the request, remove the metadata which is not required. So this is the all metadata is there. I don't need metadata anyway. So you just have to send this data and result. Most important thing, you have to remove the result as well. This result tag is not required. So that's a very important thing. Whenever you are sending back the data, the result tag is not required, and corresponding process also I will delete. Okay, and metadata, again this is the metadata which I don't require. I require simple data I want to send, and this is your entire payload which will be in the bracket, and you can see this is the header data, and this is again your item data. Item data in the array format, you can pass multiple item, one line item. In the same way you can pass another line item also. And obviously you should not use get method, you have to use post method to create data in the system. And one more important thing, you no need to pass this query option, you just have to pass the entity set name. Let me execute and create this data in the system. If I execute this one, currently what error I will get, that your create deep entity method is not implemented. Obviously we are sending the deep entity, it's asking the create deep entity method is not implemented. Let's go and implement create deep entity method. So this is the way we usually do. First try to send, and which method, if you don't know also which method needs to implement, in that way you will get to learn exactly which method needs to implemented in the system. So let's go and implement this create deep entity method. The same method I can copy. I want to redefine this particular method. I don't want to get the exception. So what I will do, I will do methods. Again, there are version to version, that might be a lot of differences. Whatever I am explaining in advanced version, there can be something else. It's all about code. You have to come and see the code, how it got implemented. That's it. Sometimes they change the framework. SAP changed the framework. You might don't get the exception here. You might get the exception like the create entity set method is not implemented. because we are sending the create data. It depends version to version, again how your framework is doing the error. Based on that you have to do the actions, and again the depend on the different thing. So let me do control V. It's again the backend, what code is running, that is very important, and based on that our code should be written. Let me redefine this one, and you can do control 1, add implementation for this particular method. So we have added implementation, and I should not get this raise exception now. And let me activate this one, control F3, and let me put breakpoint to see data, what kind of data is coming from front end. So what I will do, I'll go to this create deep entity method, which is not implemented currently. I have implemented, but okay, let me go back. Now it got implemented. Okay, so let me put breakpoint here. External breakpoint I will put, and let me execute this query option again. Obviously this method, this create deep entity method should trigger if I execute again this particular same data. I will get the payload data the same way we got the payload data in the create entity. You can see importing exporting parameter in here. So data provider class, obviously we have to use to get the data, and we can see other data if it is required, entity set name, take request, those all the details we can see further here, and we have to send the data back to deep entity. So like that we have to create the sales order. Now we have to write the code here. Let me do F8. Currently I will not get anything, but I think it should be no valid source context supplied. So this is again we are getting error because we didn't implement it properly. So what we have to do, we have to do the proper implementation, obviously. So you can do F2 over here. You can see what all are the exporting importing parameter IO data provider we used in create entity. Same way we have to use here this particular class also. Before going that, in this case we will be needing to get this data. I want to get this data header and line item data. So I need some structure like this. I don't have currently this, which structure we have in the create deep entity method that we created locally, but I need some structure which should get this kind of data. So to create this structure, this time, this is the first time we will be going to implement one is going to change our DPC extension class. No, sorry, MPC extension class. So what we will do, we will go to the MPC extension class here. And in this MPC extension class, we will create, let me close it out. We will create one public type so that can be utilized throughout the our classes. So in the MPC extension class, in the public section, I have to define some structure which is capable of storing the data, not only the header data, line item data also it can store. Let me click on types. So you can give any meaningful name over here, deep, because we are creating the deep, or you can deep sales order, something you can give. ty underscore begin of ty underscore deep so, something meaningful name you can give. And we need the header data first. So to give include the header structure, we have MPC class already. You can open the MPC class parallelly to set up to use the utilize whatever the structure currently available. Let me open here this particular MPC class. So you can see we have already header data. So I want to include all the fields of this particular GTS sales order header. So what I will do in this case, include which type control V. This I want to do. And third thing what I want to do, end of, first let me end of this one, end of ty underscore deep underscore so. This is what I did basically. This is again types. I have to declare types. So what I did basically, I included this include type. What it will do, what all are the fields it's there, instead of declaring one by one all the fields, it will put all the fields over here. So like that you can put all the fields here. So in this, if you see F2, TGVBAK RAM, these all are the fields. If I copy this all the thing, Control C and paste here, and instead of writing one by one field, I just included this particular field. It will include all the fields. And second important thing, here we header data we have to get the line item data along with the header data. So we have to create some deep structure. In this case, we have to use the navigation property name. So that is very important, because whenever we are sending the data here, first we got this header data, then we have in the array format we have the line item set data. So we should need, first we need some internal table instead of structure, and second thing, this items name we have to use. So whenever we will use that data provider class, that time it will able to map the data correctly. So that is the reason we have to use this navigation property. So we will use items navigation property, items that type table of, again this should be type, we have to declare types, sorry, not types, item type table of, this should be line item table. TC header table is there, we should have somewhere line item table as well, or you can use directly line item type also, type table of this one. I think this is okay. You are using, oh, instead of using generic type with the default key, you can provide some keys, so you will not get this error. So like that you can create the table, or you can use directly TT sales order, but again this is generic type, better to create this one only. Let me do Shift F1 to format the data. So you can, I have ended this one. So this deep structure I have created, this is the first work whenever you are doing. Let me do Control F3 here, MPC extension class. So why we are doing the changes in MPC extension? Whenever we regenerate the project, this class will be not impacted. We would have created this structure here, but whenever we regenerate the project, whenever we regenerate and create the runtime artifacts, that time this particular class will be rewritten, but MPC extension class will never rewritten. So that is the very important thing. So we created this one. Now what we have to do, we have to read the data. So F2 you can do, and we have IO data provider, Control C, we have to call this particular IO data provider over here. And what we can do, IO data provider, and there is method there is method called read entry data. You can do Shift Enter, and you can read the data from this particular entity. So where you have to read this particular, you have to create one structure in this case. So what structure you will create? Data, this is sales order data, so I will create ls sales order type, this type of this particular ty deep so. So Control C, Control V, there is some issue. Okay, I have to use this MPC DPC, Control C, Control V, and I want to use this method, Shift F1. I created this type, so I'm using this type here to create the work area, and that work area I'm getting the data. This is particular deep structure where we'll be having the internal table along with this deep structure type I have created. I'm getting the data. Let me activate this one, Control F3, and let me see in this particular ls and sales underscore order the data got filled. For that, let me put breakpoint again. The breakpoint is misplaced somewhere here and there. Yeah, that's now let me put here, otherwise it will not trigger. Okay, and let me re-execute now. If I re-execute now, obviously breakpoint will trigger, and if breakpoint will trigger, let me close it out if some extra sessions are there. I think system got stuck. Breakpoint got triggered. So I'm trying to, this currently it is blank. I'm trying to fill the data in this one. Let me do F6. I hope so data got filled over here. Yes, correct. So you got this one, then items association, you put as of now one item only. That is the reason you can see one item. You can put multiple line item also, that will also come. I have all the data to create sales order. This is header data and line item data. So let me do F8 as of now. I didn't do anything big thing. Just now I got the data, whatever I have sent from here. Now I have to create the sales order. This is the thing. So I'm whatever you want to do with this data, you can do here. So, but I will create for you guys the sales order as well. So for that, I will create one more method here itself. Let me create in the public section, or you can create private section. This will be private to this one, methods, and you can create SO or sales order. You can put underscore order, where we will call our BAPI to create the sales order. That should be type you have to importing, exporting, and it should import some data. Methods importing, that importing ls importing, so is underscore so I will put sales order. You can put sales order. This type should be this particular type. Control C or Control V, and you can use Control space. TS will be that TS underscore deep. Oh, sorry, the TY underscore deep SO. This type I have created, and let me implement this method. Control 1 I can do, and add implementation for this particular method. So inside this, what I will do, I will write my code to create sales order. So again, I have created, you might have seen here and there, I will G test RAM I have created. So I already created that particular program and checked how this creating the sales order node. That is very important for me because it should not stuck some between. So I will use it to reutilize this program. I know this is successfully creating the sales order. So let me use this same code here to create the sales order, where we are calling that particular BAPI sales order to create the sales order. Control C and Control V, shift F1. So basically I'm calling the sales order. I used the constant data. Instead of using the constant data, what I will do, I will use the data from this particular importing parameter of this particular sales order. Control C, and let quickly modify. I would have done in the, if you can increase the speed of video if you already know how to create the BAPI, that also fine. Control V, so document type I need TA control space AUART is the document type, and sales org we need Control V, VQR is the sales org, and this distribution channel Control V, this should be SPART, control space I can do SPART, and division should be Control V, and this should be VTWEZ. This is the division. Again, partner number is here. Partner number will be Kunnar, Control V, and I can put Kunnar here, Kunnar. So partner number is Kunnar. This is header data, and this is the partner role we are providing. No need to worry. And apart from this partner header data, we are providing the line item data. For that, I have to use loop on my line item data if I am providing multiple data. So Control V, shift F1. So in this, what needs to Control space, items I have I have to loop through the item table, assigning field symbol, and this should be ls underscore item, and again I have looped through this data, and I have to fill this all the data. Control X, because again this is the item data, and shift F1, and I can fill the item number here. Control C, Control V, Control space, Posner is the item number, and material number also I can fill. Control V, Matner, Control space, material number I can fill, and the quantity, Control V, Control space, quantity is KWEMNG, that I can fill, and that's it. I filled the item data, header data, and I will be getting the VBLN and BAPI transaction commit. This is not required. Console shift less than Let me do control F3 and put the breakpoint here to see really it is creating the sales order in the system or not. So again, I will use same sales order 15927. So we already having the data here. Again, we will rerun this program. We have breakpoint in place. So let me re-execute this one first. Let me activate whatever we did. Control F3. Just we call the BAPI. We have the data. Just we are calling. But this BAPI we would have not able to call if we have done our data instead of create deep entity sales order header data only, because we can't pass their header and line item data together. So we have to create the create deep entity for this. So let me re-execute again. So now you might know why I use this data only, because I know this is the minimum data required to sales order. So that is the reason I chooses those data only. Let me do F5. Oh, still now it didn't loaded the data. Let me do F8. What I will do, I will reload the metadata. I think control F3. Sometime it will happen. You can use this T code. That what was the case cleanup T code. In that case, you will be able to again case will be cleaned and you can get the correct code from metadata from backend to front end. Let me display again and put breakpoint appropriately. It got messed up. This is create deep entity, deep insert. What happens, sir? Read data. I called or not? Till now I didn't call here itself, sir. So what I have to do? I have to pass the data. So I have to call this particular method me, and this time what method I have to call? Create cr shift enter create sales order, and I have to pass this data control C, control V, and I have to importing. There should be one importing parameter also. Control ZZ. Before that, sales order number. That is I needed. So exporting is this entity set and importing, and this should export this particular export LV underscore VBLN. Oh, exporting means EV underscore SO number sales order. Type VBLN, we have to put VBELN, and that we have to fill here, and again we have to call this particular VBLN. That should be at last. So instead of what we can do, EV VBLN we can put. This is the we no need to create F2. Okay, what is the exporting parameter? I created EV or ES. What is EV sales order? Sorry, control C, and I can put EV sales order. Control V, EV sales order. And let me activate control F3 and call that particular create method here again, and again inside our code where we got here. Just we have to call that me, because I want to access my method only. So create sales order. So here what I have to pass? Control C I have to pass, control V, control shift greater than, and the sales order number will be, I can get here data, I can create LV underscore VBELN, or you can get that sales order in header data also. Let me as of now see the data here, control F3 and rerun that query. The breakpoint will be triggered. I hope so. Let me close this one. Okay, now breakpoint trigger. I saw already what data we are getting. Now we will go to our create sales order method and quickly debug this method. We are passing the document type, got filled successfully. TA, it converted internal format. That is very important. That is the reason I use the structure instead of creating property by property. You saw that OR sales. If you are passing here from here, you are passing the document type is OR. But here it automatically converted to TA. How it got converted? If you see here AURT, it is TA. We pass from front end OR. The conversion happen in between because you use that structure. Structure will take care of converting from the external format to internal format. So that is very important. Even you see sales org and other data, that is very important. And part number also we will see. and division 30. Part number also they have added 0 when we get the data from, even I think we are sending from front end. If you see from front end, we are sending 582. We are removing the 0 and then we are sending for Kunnar. You can see Kunnar. Where is Kunnar? Customer number, sir. Document sales org VTW is Kunnar. We are sending the 582. But if you see here in the debug mode, we could edit 0 here. So conversion is taken care of. So that's a reason I used here. I explicitly did conversion, but it is not required in this case. But when I was using from that program, that time it was required. So this is all the role we have to pass mandatorily. If you have multiple line item data, so you have to pass GI item in this one. Anyway, these are local. It should be li. Let me do F7. Okay, it's sales order created successfully or not? No, it didn't create it. Let me go again, step F12. What happened? I did F7. I would have done F6. Put breakpoint over here. F8. GW header. I passed correctly all the sales order. Document type, sales org and distribution channel. Division I have passed. A required data I have passed, I think so. Let me do F6. What error we are getting if we GV underscore VBLN, not GV underscore. Okay, commit work didn't happen. Why didn't sales order was created? Not created, sir. Not initial. It is not created. Why? There are some errors. GI return. I can see some error is there. Okay, this sales org area is not exist. I think I have to pass something wrongly. 3000. I think I have to pass something else. Let me see. Division and distribution channel I have passed interchangeably. Let me see where I have passed here. So I have passed SPART. I think if you do distribution F2, this is VTWC. Control X. I pass here. Control V. Control X. Control X. And one more thing missed. One more mistake. Control Z. So Control X. Control V. Part. Okay. Oh God, control sit. Here I have to pass this part. Let me see. Division is this part. F2. Division is part and distribution channel is VTWEC. That is, now it is correct. And one more thing we have to see. We have to do commit work to see the sales order. So we have to check this sales order. If it is not initial, then we have to do commit work. Then only it will be created. Otherwise, the sales order will be not created. Let me re-execute again my code. So again, breakpoint will be triggered. So let me come to F6, F5. Let me come to direct BAPI execution. F8. Let me do F6. Let me see sales order got created. Yeah, we are getting some sales order number, but we have to do commit work. Let me do F6, F6 and F8. Let me see the sales order got created on. Still we are getting, we have to pass meaningful message. We have to pass and back the data. That will do. First we will see VA03 and this particular sales order is got created or not. Control V 195942. Just now it is created. You can see this sales order, whatever the data we have passed, and it is created today's date 26 Feb and it created successfully. So like that we can create the system data, but to remove this error we have to send back the data also. Remove that error, what we will do, we have to send the data back. So in this case, we should not pass ideally when we do the payload. So we should remove this and pass, but it's okay, we are passing, it's not matter, we are not using anywhere. But what we have to do, once you have done with this one, you have to change this structure, control space VBLN, that you have to pass the sales order. So that way you will get to know you have created successfully this particular sales order. And not only the sales order, here you have to look through your line item data also. And what I can do that will be better, I have passed here this one items, sales order number we are not passing. So what I can do, I am looping. I have to loop through again here. Loop, control C, loop, control space, you can do control space, loop at assigning, control V, not this one, shift F1, and I have to put loop on item, control space, you can do items, assigning field symbol, tab, and ls underscore item, and that you can fill again, control C, control V, VBLN should be equal to, everywhere you can change VBLN, send on one place also fine, it's again coding, shift F1. And not only that, you have to send back the data. If you to see the exporting parameter of this particular, this one, F2 ER entity, we have to send back this data so they can see the data. F2, so ER deep entity we have to create, control C, control V. So as I told you, the same way how to generate data, we have to use the method copy ref2. That is the part of the interface. I think which interface, so this is the interface, you can see. You can find out this interface in our super class, main super class. Same method, what you have to do, control U, tilde operator, copy ref2 data, shift enter you can do, and here you have to pass control X. You have to get this data, but you have to pass your header data, control C and control V, shift F1, control F3. This way we can successfully pass the data, and that error we will not get, and we will create the sales order successfully. Let me do one thing. Let me re-execute again. Let me control F3. Re-execute the data. Sales order pass or not pass, no need to matter. We are using other data. It's not matter, sorry. Let me execute again. I removed the breakpoints. So you can see this one, this time we got the error message code successful, and which sales order got created, you can see the data, this sales order, control C, 15945, which we are sending back. If you want to see in VA03, that also you can see, or if you refresh here, you can see 15903, this particular sales order is open now, it is not there. If you 15945, it is not there here. 15945 is not there. If I refresh the data, refresh. Oh, it's not there. Yeah, it came. Yeah, wow, how it is possible? It came 15945. It came, that particular sales order. You can open this one in the VA03 as well, slash and VA03 as well. 19545. 5 sales order you want to see, and you can see the sales order created successfully. And since this is how the deep entity work, you can create the successfully, and now we are not getting the error message as well. So there are some SAP recommendation to use expand and deep insert. So first recommendation, whenever you need like that, do use expand deep insert for associated entity type when you need to fetch or create deep data. In the same case, we have used sales order and line item. It is always we need to get the data in the combination. When we have to create the data, then we have to send the data in the combination of both the entities. So in that way, we should use expand and deep insert whenever you need to read the deep data or you need to create deep data. Second, when we use, what is the advantage? Expand is the possibility of data to make join. When we are reading the data, so and we are using the expand option, at that time we, instead of getting the data from the different tables separately, we can make the join, and bigger join we can create, and we can get the data from the database in one hand. That is the recommendation. Again, the SAP HANA, we should get the data, all the data from the database in one hand. And the deep insert, again, you want to update the data, you can go in one hand all the data, and you can update together using the SAP LUW. Instead of updating data separately, you can combine all the data together. Whatever you want to update, you can update together, or you don't want to update not at all, that you can use SAP LUW concept as well. And third thing, that is again the expand and insert, and do use expand deep insert for more data which contain more than one association call. In this case, in our case, we were having only one association call. We are getting the header and one association with the item, that one association call. But sometime that might be the case. In this case, you might have created separate entity for the customer, separate entity for the material detail, and all other detail. For example, sold to party, that also you might have created separate entity. You have multiple entities and you have the relationship between those entities. So if you want to get the data again, then you have to go back and get the data, get the data for line item, customers, sold to party, all the things you have to get the data one by one. But in this case, always SAP recommend use expand and deep insert to get all the data together and to send the data, all the data together. Next, regarding expand, what is the advantage of expand? When you use the expand, the round trip between the client and gateway server, and from gateway server to the backend system, that trip will be reduced. You are getting the data, all the data in one hand, instead of going multiple times to the gateway server and gateway server going to the backend system and fetching the data. That round trip will be reduced whenever you use the expand. And expand reduces the SAP gateway server response time as well. And third thing, and instead of using the framework expand, you should implement your own method to do the expand. So in that way, what is the advantage? As I shown you, we no need to use loop inside select. In this case, there was very simple example of sales order. There might be the complex logic you would have written to fetch the item data. You might have the multiple select queries, or you might have a lot of things you have done in whenever you're fetching the item data. So in that way, that will take more time, because you will be calling in the loop that particular part. Instead of doing that, you should implement your get expanded entity set or get expanded entity method to get the data in one go and quicker way. That is again the SAP recommendation. I'm not adding anything from my side. These are the recommendation I copied from the SAP standard documentations. And with that, we have done with this video. Please do like this video, subscribe this channel, and share these videos with others as well, so they can also learn. With that, thank you and happy learning.